Hello, my name is Brian DuPont, and I'm presenting my rebranding documents for the Pokemon Company. And I chose to package them in a deck box, which we're going to talk a lot about why that deck box is valuable and important to the way that I present my materials. And we also have a couple other things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the first thing that we're going to start with is we're going to talk about this important quote by Tsunekazu Ishiharu, who is the current president of the Pokemon Company. He talks a lot about how amazing it is that the Pokemon cards and game are still things that people can pick up and use very simply. And with that core value, we're going to see how Pokemon can begin to adapt some of its ideas. We also have a table of contents that I'm going to place up here so that we can continue to refer to it as we work and as we look at this. So one of the first things we're going to talk about are some of the research that I was able to find out. So one of the things that was amazing about Pokemon throughout the 20 years that it's been developed is that the people that buy and play Pokemon are not gamers or consumers. They're known as trainers because they work with these characters that are Pokemon and they train them throughout what they work on. And so the ability to collect and continue to raise and train these has been something that the Pokemon Company and Mr. Ishiharu has been have used a lot in their current brand, and we're going to continue to use that in some of our rebranding tool. But as you can see, the idea that Pokemon are something that people grow up with, that they continue to raise and they continue to train, is a very important value that the Pokemon Company keeps. So one of the first things I had to do when I looked at this was to really consider how the first logo looks. And actually, this is the current logo that they have had. Now, it's built to attract children to their product. But as we're going to find out, we're going to see that the children have grown up with Pokemon for the past 20 years. And so something a little bit fresher, something a little bit more newer is important to do this. So I developed a logo that uses the Pokeball as a main element to it, but also you're able to use it as a monogram, and you can also take out some of those colors for that. The mission statement of Pokemon is to inspire joy and the fun of Pokemon by combining the established qualities of trading and playing with the innovation and care of contemporary methods so that Pokemon can be enjoyed as a lifelong interest. Because what you're going to find out is that children love it and they grow up with this product. So as we look at this, we're going to talk about some of these attributes and some of these important core values. Some of the core values is really just about bringing joy to children. They want to be able to spread Pokemon to people who are suffering in disaster relief, and they want to really expand their fan base as they go through building on Pokemon, because they don't want just the children to be involved, but they want adults and they want parents to be involved as well. So what you'll find out is that some of the important qualities of Pokemon is that they're innovational, that they stay traditional, they're fun and they're creative, they're very colorful, and they tend to engage a wide range of an audience. So some of these people that we're going to talk about are different consumers or different trainers that we're going to look at. So this is Jake. Jake is your typical trainer. He's a young boy and he collects the cards. He loves the game. And he's fascinated with just collecting and organizing the cards. So Pokemon is originally developed for that group of trainers. But what you'll find out too is that we have adults that tend to stay with this game as well. And this is Matt, who has played it from a video game age, and he's stayed with it for a long time, and he still does it. But you'll find out that he's maybe not so interested in collecting the cards anymore, but he's interested in some of those, the merchandise that we'll look at pretty soon. And then we'll look at Beth. Now, Beth is a parent, so she is kind of a consumer in that she buys the cards for children like Jake. But what she doesn't know is how to play the game, and she doesn't know why people are attracted to this game. And so she's a trainer that the Pokemon Company wants to start to target to. So we're actually going to put these people up at the top because we're going to use Matt and Beth a little bit later on, and we're going to keep going and looking at some of this. So we're going to first discuss some of these products. And the first group of products that we're going to talk about are your typical products that you will normally find. We have the trading card game, which comes in a wide range of different things. We have a video game, which also comes in different things. Usually, it's in this Nintendo range with the 3DS, but recently it's been a Pokemon Go mobile platform game. And then you also see that a lot of the young trainers are really like the clothing, but then you're also going to find the trainers like Matt are interested in some of the home decor, like having plates or having mugs, or having some of that basic fun stuff that he can still identify with. But we also have other items that they use. So some of the movies and TVs are still built for young trainers, and a lot of the toys as well. But then you have this art area, which again, Matt might be somebody interested in it. But some of these other areas is where Beth kind of comes into play, because we have areas like disaster relief, where Pokemon is trying to reach out to other people and trying to help them out. But then we also have this educational aspect in which they use a PokeTouch app to help educate children and make it a little bit more fun for them as well. But as we keep going, we're going to start talking about some of the design choices that I made for the Pokemon rebrand. So we're going to first look at Satoshi Tajiri's comment about design. He's the first one that developed the video game back in 1998. He said, "I wanted to design a game that involved interactive communication." And so as I consider that in my choices for design, I wanted to think that as well. How do I continue to make this interactive for them? So some of the main typographic choices I wanted to do is looking at dead history typeface. So the dead history typeface, as you can see, has got a change of wide and broad strokes. It has a change of serif and non-serif. And those are important because I wanted to keep that stroke quality involved in a lot of the choices that I made. But then I also wanted to keep something very neutral, such as Proxima Nova Light, because this is a very neutral typeface that will help the communication of the rebranding documents to continue to grow for a long time. I also looked at some of the changes of the colors. The typical colors for Pokemon have been blue and yellow, but I wanted to make it a little more dynamic. But I also, again, wanted to add some of those neutral aspects to it to keep it so it's a little more time-standing. So with those color choices involved and those design patterns involved, we can start engaging Matt a little bit more, because now he's going to start seeing that the documents, the rebranding documents, are built a little bit more for his age group. So now we're going to start looking at some of the print media that I wanted to develop. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, because it is a print medium, a lot of people collect the cards. I wanted to keep a lot of my documents built into this card shape. So that goes along with some of the business cards that I developed. This is the back of it, and there's our front. And we can see we have the information in Proxima Light, just like that. But developing the deck cards might be very important too, because the deck cards for the game have never changed. They've stayed very constant. So I thought maybe if we came up with something that's a little bit more new, a little bit fresher, using those color choices and that dynamic look to it, and increasing some of that pattern involvement, we'll be able to engage, again, trainers like Matt. So the deck cards fit nicely into a deck box. So this deck box, like this, is something that we can use to educate trainers like Beth. So we can create an educational theme deck that shows them how to play the game and what is involved, and why their children really like to collect. And it'll give Beth some tips on how she can continue to collect that game for her young trainers. So then we're going to look at the brochure. And I wanted to create a brochure that was a little bit different than your standard gatefold brochure. And so I came up with something that looks like this, which challenges people to become the trainer they're meant to be. And so it's interactive, and it kind of folds out, so you can kind of see all the different areas and the attributes of Pokemon. But then you can also flip it over and be challenged on how you can become to train. You can train with masters, train and teach as an educational mentorship, and you can train globally, like the Pokemon with You program to raise disaster relief. And then there's a contact list. So we can also look at some of the new poster art. And again, this is geared a little bit both to trainers that are young and older, because it's a little bit colorful. It's got some dynamic qualities to it, but it also doesn't just make it look like a kid product. So let's keep working on some of these other ideas of print. So we have the bag design, and this is excellent for the Pokemon Center because you can go in and you can kind of see those different things. And then you also have the letterhead, which is excellent for the business side of it, alongside with the business cards. And we're going to move ahead into digital media. So the thing about the digital media is that Pokemon is not just a print medium, but they reach a lot in their print or in their digital qualities. So their roots began with the video game, like I said, from Mr. Tajiri. And so how do I create a more digital side to it? And I wanted to look at the different designs, make it so that you can reach featured trainers. You can find out more about featured Pokemon. You can go to the store, go to the news. But then there's also the About page that will add a little bit more to it to talk more about their company. And then, because we're in a very mobile age, we have some mobile interpretations of that. But we also have a tablet interpretations that will allow people to connect a lot more to other characters, other community involvement. And the idea is that we can take the Pokemon Company and create the website and then connect to social networks and other areas. And then finally, we're going to talk about some of the environmental media of Pokemon. And so some of the areas would definitely be in the championships and in the tournaments, where you would go and you would receive event badges that you could wear around your neck. And they come in different styles, one that's more of a global idea and one that reinforces the card back side. But then as you go into the tournament area, there are large banners that represent that poster art that we looked at earlier. And then finally, the last couple of environmental ideas is the street installation. And so with this one, we're going to talk a lot about the kind of like the Pokemon Go idea, where you can go find the Pokemon shapes and frames, and you can find your Pokemon there, but then you can also stand behind it and take a photograph of yourself with that character. So those are the documents for the rebranding of Pokemon. I appreciate that you spent time listening to this and watching this. And feel free to go back and see any of those other documents that I had listed earlier.